Los Angeles is under attack, and President Trump has stepped in to save it. I'm Brian Craig. This is the Brian Craig Show podcast where MAGA comes to talk. Thanks for tuning in. We've got a lot to cover. I'm sure most of you have been watching the events over the weekend in Los Angeles. You know, here's the thing that people have to understand. We've seen all these people running around with the Mexican flags, wearing masks, just acting in ways that are not American. And what's happened to the United States that people, I think, realize, but they don't want to say out loud, but I'm going to say it right now. And what happened in Los Angeles and what is going on now as I'm speaking, it's not over yet. This is going to be an ongoing thing that could go on for weeks and months in Los Angeles. This is not just a weekend event. The United States has been invaded by foreign invaders. The United States, big chunks of it, like Los Angeles, are being occupied by foreign invaders. And in many ways, they're also colonizing the United States. You know, on yesterday's podcast, if you listen to the podcast episode before this one, I went through a new report that just came out that showed that almost 25%, just under, it's 23 and change, but almost 25% of all students in U.S. public schools are the children of illegal immigrants. Isn't that something? So that's colonization that's going on. And I'm watching this footage live out of Los Angeles, and the illegals out there feel completely entitled to be where it is they are. And I've been watching the local news channels out of Los Angeles, and listening to their live commentary is completely insane. Yesterday and the day before yesterday, they did the ICE raids, and they had a police helicopter, the one that's usually showing the high-speed chases down the LA freeway, was following the armored ICE vehicle as it was being followed by illegals through the streets of LA. They were throwing rocks and God knows what else at it. And they had a guy, the local news, they had a local, I think it was KTLA, they had a local guy that they were talking to, and he said, they're arresting workers. These are just people going to work, not criminals. These are workers. Yeah, they are criminals because they're in the United States illegally, okay? They are illegal immigrants, illegal migrants, illegals. That, by definition, makes them a criminal. Okay? And so far as going after the criminals, the fake Maryland man Garcia, with his human trafficking and wife-beating charges and everything going on with him, they want to keep him here too. So they just want all of them here, regardless of what crimes they've done, what their status is, how they got here. But no, this country has been invaded. It's under attack. It's being occupied and colonized. And President Trump is saving us. You know, if President Trump had not won this election, and God forbid Kamala Harris, Willie Brown's girlfriend, became president, what would have happened in this country is worse than we want to think about too much. But what would have happened is they would have taken, the radical left wokesters would have taken a victory by Kamala or Biden as a mandate to quadruple down everything they were doing. So the number of illegals coming into the country would have quadrupled. It would have been nonstop for years and years and years and years. Trump shut down the border pretty much completely. I think he said the other day 3 or 4 migrants got through, illegals, and that was only because one of them had a heart attack. It was for humanitarian reasons. And of course, the deportations are moving ahead full speed. You know, also disturbing is you see these local officials in Los Angeles, whether it's Karen Bass, the mayor, just had her city burning down because of her wokeism. Now this is going on. Newsom and some of the local officials out there who are not just supporting these violent rioters that are attacking federal agents that are following the directive of the President of the United States. They're encouraging them to do more of what they're doing, and even in some instances, amp it up. And since they are federal agents that are following the policy set down by the President of the United States. What they're doing, really, these illegals out there on their motorcycles with Mexican flags, they are leading, Karen Bass, New Scum, and all of them, they're leading an insurrection against the federal government because the Democrats and the liberal media told us about 4 years ago that they spent 4 years telling us that if you interrupt government business, you are an insurrectionist who's taking part in an insurrection. These deportations are government business, federal government business. So if you are interfering with them, you are indeed an insurrectionist. You know, it's really amazing to me what's coming out of the mouths of some of these elected officials in Los Angeles. It really is. And I wanted to share this with you. I saw an article today in the Daily Mail. Listen to this. This is the headline: Disturbing Secret History of Woke LA Mayor Karen Bass. Listen to this. Let me read this. This is in the Daily Mail today. As chaotic pro-migrant riots continue, pro-migrant, you know, the Daily Mail is liberal, okay? You know, and they're also British. I don't think they've gotten over losing us to the American Revolution. These are not pro-migrant. These are insurrectionist, really, is what they are. But anyway, the wording is from the liberal Daily Mail. As chaotic pro-migrant riots continue in Los Angeles, the woke mayor's disturbing past has come to light. Tensions grew increasingly high over the weekend as the Trump administration deployed the National Guard to crack down on the protest over the immigration raids. These aren't, they keep calling these protests. They're violent. Have you seen that video inside the ICE armored vehicle? You could hear the hard objects hitting on outside. They're attacking federal agents. These are not protests. Early Sunday morning, Trump took to his Truth Social and applauded the National Guard for stepping in to control, quote, these radical left protests, while also calling out Governor Gavin Newsom and LA Mayor Karen Bass for being unable to handle the task. They don't want to handle the task. They want to let LA burn. Amid the ongoing immigration riots, Bass's ties, I know I'm going to pronounce this organization wrong, but that's okay. I speak American Standard English, and even though I took Spanish in high school and college, I'm not very good at it. Bass's ties to Venceremos Brigade, an international socialist revolution group aimed at challenging U.S. policies towards Cuba, have made their way back into the spotlight after they were revealed just months back during the city's disastrous wildfires. Karen Bass previously praised Fidel Castro and had close associations with the Caribbean country in her youth, traveling there to Cuba in 1973 with the Venceremos Brigade and seeing the communist leader speak. It's probably one of the highlights of her life, seeing Fidel speak in person. In 2016, when Castro died, Karen Bass referred to Castro as the Comandante it says, I guess, J-E-F-E, is that F-A? Which means, of course, Commander-in-Chief, saying Fidel's passing was a great loss to the people of Cuba. She also reportedly gave a eulogy for a senior member of the Communist Party USA. See, Karen Bass, as a communist, because she's an out-of-the-closet communist, she's a revolutionary fighting the communist revolution. And this is how communist revolutions begin, by doing what we're seeing in Los Angeles right now, right? Bringing the system down. Karen Bass has also been described as the leader of the Venceremos Brigade in Southern California, according to a report published by Tablet magazine. Now, yet with another massive emergency plaguing the Democrat-run state. See, this is going according to plan, really, if you look at Karen Bass's associations. People have brought up her past as Trump and other Republicans blast her and Gavin Newsom's response to the ongoing riots. Karen Bass was trained in revolutionary warfare and subversion during her many decades in the Cuban regime-sponsored Venceremos Brigade, a user wrote on X. She was a talent scout and recruiter for them. What she is doing now merits a federal national security investigation. Her ideas of America are not the same as ours, wrote another on X. Someone else commented, Karen Bass knows she won't get reelected. So she's pro-violence as a revolutionary communist. I don't know if she knows she won't get reelected. You know, the way they are in Los Angeles, she very well could get reelected. Rumors of her involvement in the organization have been known and talked about for years, and in 2020, Bass defended her past travel to Cuba and the comments she made about Fidel Castro and calling him the Commandant-in-Chief. She did so, she says, to express her condolences for the Cuban people, but the term itself is condemned by Cuban exiles who fled to Florida, right here in Miami. Let's see here. Let's see if there's anything else about her. She was in Congress at the time, by the way. Too bad she's not still there. She'd be better in Congress because she'd be part of a minority party that couldn't do anything, but she really should not be in government at all. Anyway, it goes into some other things which I don't need to get sidetracked. So Los Angeles is being run by a communist revolutionary who believes that what we're seeing out there is the way things should be. You know, the way that these radical, violent rioters in Los Angeles believe, they think that California and the entire southwestern United States is U.S.-occupied Mexican territory. They really do. That's what they believe. That's what they're taught. And they think we are the aggressor here. No, it's not Mexico. And you know, fascinating thing to me about the bizarre mindset of liberals. You know, liberals, they tell us all the time they're against colonization, right? That's what they call us here in the United States. But isn't that what they're doing in Los Angeles? Now, if you'd like to support the program, become a Patreon supporter. If you're a Patreon supporter, you have access to commercial-free editions of each and every podcast episode. And since I have upgraded the podcast to have a video version of the Brian Craig Show podcast, the audio version's still on all the podcast platforms, guys. But on YouTube and YouTube Music, I upload the video version. And Patreon supporters, not only do you have access exclusively as a Patreon supporter to commercial-free editions of the Brian Craig Show podcast, you get a commercial-free video version of it, completely commercial-free, if you're a Patreon supporter. If you'd like to become a Patreon supporter, there's a link in the description of this and every episode on whatever platform you're listening to us on. And if you're one of our top Patreon supporters, you get a live on-air shout-out on each episode. Your name is in the description of the podcast episodes, and on YouTube and YouTube Music, your name as a top Patreon supporter appears on the screen while I go through the names like I'm about to do. So the following names are our top Patreon supporters. I want to thank Andrew and Connie, Christine, ETW, Chuck, Pamela, Nick, Wesley, Heather, David, Maria in Texas, Alice, LeeZep, Shawna, George, Brandon, John, Frank, Dale, David, Laura, Rob, and SFjr. These are our top Patreon supporters. If you want your name on the screen and in the description, or you want to get those commercial-free editions of the podcast, go into the description of this episode. On whatever platform you're on, go to my Patreon page and become a Patreon supporter. Okay, so on the Sunday shows, CNN's Dana Bash, she had Senator Markwayne Mullin on, and it's just so bizarre the way that these people rationalize things. Listen to this.
They were literally out there protesting, carrying a foreign flag. That is absolutely insane. I mean, they're not just peaceful protesters. Well, these are illegals. These are exactly why the president is trying to secure our border.
All right, well, carrying a flag is not illegal, as goodness. You know.
What about throwing the rocks while you're carrying that flag at federal law enforcement and doing the other thing and burning things down and looting while you're carrying that flag?
Flag is not illegal, as you know. And I just want to be clear.
I just want to be flag while you're attacking law enforcement. Well, it's pretty bad.
That's a different question. But I just want to just state for the record that what did happen in 1992 was so different from what we're seeing now. I mean,
talking about the L.A. riots, Rodney King riots.
That was a real riot that went all across the city of Los Angeles after a verdict in the Rodney King case. This is a situation where the LA County Police,
Dana,
it's not good, but they're saying that they have it under control, and the president is sending national troops,
Dana,
federal troops, in a way that
we can look at this and we can obviously see that it is not under control. It's not under control. No. You and I both can see that. It's not under control. And a riot is a riot. They're throwing all types of objects at law enforcement, and the president is absolutely right. I can't say this enough. This is why the American people elected President Trump.
That's right.
Because we are moving in the right direction.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, her mindset is insane to me. And, the Rodney King riots in 1992, Maxine Waters, that's when she was new to Congress. She was a freshman back then in Congress. Can you believe it? This old lady. I remember it's the first time we really saw her on the national stage. Do you remember what Maxine Waters started calling the LA riots? And she still calls them that today, although she wasn't old and senile then. She was a nutcase and a lot younger. She called it the LA Rebellion. The LA Rebellion. And Democrats, after those Rodney King riots, the Democrats in Congress wanted to pass legislation to give reparations to the people of Los Angeles so that they could buy new clothes and such that were lost during the looting of the LA riots. But, a big difference between what went on during the LA riots and what's going on during these foreign invaders riots that are going on right now as I'm speaking in Los Angeles is we had someone out there in Los Angeles who, unlike Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass and some of these council members and others I've seen, was trying to stop the violence, and that was Rodney King. Remember, Rodney King came out and said, can't we all just get along? Rodney King was reasonable after those riots. When those riots were going on, he came out, can't we all just get along? He wanted the violence to stop. Do you think Newsom wants it to stop? Does Karen Bass want the violence to stop? Now, I was watching yesterday on YouTube some of the live feeds from out in front of the immigration headquarters where the riots and everything were going on. And that's where the guy was running around with the Mexican flag, riding the motorcycle that we've seen all over the place. And I could hear a woman on a megaphone speaking, telling the crowd what to do, and she was giving them very specific instructions, including how to avoid the tear gas from the ICE agents and such. And she was speaking English, not Spanish, which I thought was interesting, which tells you that there's Democrats, leftist, and Antifa out there that are organizing a lot of what's going on out there as well. It's not just random people that are from Mexico or some other South American location or Central American location that are here illegally that are just coincidentally out there. There's definitely organization behind this. It's very coordinated. And President Trump, in an interview with Kristen Welker over the weekend on NBC News, she's the woman that hosts Meet the Press. He was talking about Garcia, the fake Maryland man who's been extradited back to the United States with these human trafficking charges. And he told Kristen Welker that decision was not his. The Justice Department made the decision to bring Garcia back. And that got me thinking, and you guys can let me know in the comments your thought on this. Does that mean that Trump does not approve of the extradition of Garcia, the fake Maryland man, back to the United States for trial? To me, it sounds like he not only doesn't approve of it, he's pissed off about it, and he wanted everyone to know that he didn't have anything to do with it. So if Trump didn't do it and didn't know about it, whose idea was it and why? Have they brought Garcia back to try to accomplish some anti-Trump purpose? And by the way, do you think it's a coincidence? See, this is what I was really when I saw that President Trump said that decision had nothing to do with him about the extradition of Garcia back to the United States from El Salvador. I started asking myself this: isn't it just a little too coincidental that Garcia came back the same weekend as these LA immigration riots took place? What do you guys think? Is it just a coincidence or not? And if President Trump didn't approve it, how did this happen? My name's Brian Craig. We'll be right back. This Father's Day, give a gift that speaks from the heart. The Flower Story from author Shawna is a tribute to the unconditional love between a father and his daughter. Inspired by a 2-year-old's bedtime request, The Flower Story follows the journey of a flower given by a father to his little girl, growing with her through the years. It's a story that blossoms with meaning, capturing those quiet, powerful moments only a dad and daughter truly understand. The Flower Story is perfect for bedtime, story time, or any time. It also includes a special section where dads can add their own personal message, making each book a one-of-a-kind keepsake. Whether she's 2 or 22, let her know your love grows forever. Celebrate Father's Day with The Flower Story from author Shawna. It's a gift she'll never forget. Order your copy right now on the author's website, ShawnFeeneybooks.square.site. That's SCANFEENY, ShawnFeeneybooks.square.site. There's a new mindset-driven brand that blends streetwear and gymwear for those of you who move with purpose. Discipline. You don't just wear it, you live it. At Discipline, they blend bold streetwear with high-performance gymwear for those of you who move with purpose. Their hoodies, tees, and sweaters aren't just gear. They're a mindset built to keep you sharp, consistent, and locked in. If you're all about pushing the limits and looking good while you're doing it, Discipline is your brand. Shop now at discipline.etsy.com. That's DSCPLN. Discipline.etsy.com. Stay focused, stay ready, stay disciplined. Are crucial. Your business deserves a website that stands out. With nearly 20 years of experience, ProWeaver is your trusted partner for professional custom design websites that are built to elevate your brand. ProWeaver doesn't use generic templates, just fully responsive, user-friendly custom websites that are tailored to you and the needs of your business. And the best part, ProWeaver delivers in just 3 to 5 days. That's lightning speed compared to competitors who take weeks. ProWeaver handles everything for you. Logo design to e-commerce solutions, SEO, and social media setup. They'll help you launch, grow, and dominate online, all at an affordable price. Don't wait. Get your custom website right now. Visit ProWeaver.com or call them directly toll-free 877-216-0852. 877-216-0852. ProWeaver.com. Affordable, dependable, fast. Did you know that every year, 95% of criminal cases never see a jury? They're decided behind closed doors through plea bargains. But what happens when those negotiations go wrong? Author Philip Mosier takes you inside the seismic 2012 Supreme Court rulings, Missouri versus Fry and Lafler versus Cooper, that changed everything in the book Plea Bargains on Trial, available on Amazon. For the first time, the court recognized the right to effective counsel during plea bargaining, exposing the hidden pressure points that shape justice in America today. Filled with sharp legal insight, real-world examples, as well as powerful historical context, Plea Bargains on Trial pulls back the curtain on a system built on speed, but often short on fairness. If you're drawn to the complexities of law, justice, and the fight for true representation, Plea Bargains on Trial is a book you can't afford to miss. Order your copy right now on Amazon and see the system in a whole new light. Plea Bargains on Trial from author Philip Mosier on Amazon. Kristi Noem was on Face the Nation today talking about the LA riots that are going on. I guess these are LA riots 2, right? The original ones were 92. Now we got the 2025 LA riots. Here she is. Listen.
Well, California's governor doesn't want the federalized system here. He says he's got it under control. There's no shortage of law enforcement. Gavin Newsom said he's called in California Highway Patrol. He says the Trump administration is seeking a spectacle here. He's saying to protesters, don't get violent, don't engage.
Well, if he was doing his job, then people wouldn't have gotten hurt the last couple of days. We wouldn't have officers with a shattered wrist from bricks being thrown through their vehicles being burned, flags being burned in the street, and Molotov cocktails being thrown. Governor Newsom has proven that he makes bad decisions. The president knows that he makes bad decisions, and that's why the president chose the safety of this community over waiting for Governor Newsom to get some sanity. And that's one of the reasons why these National Guard soldiers are being federalized so they can use their special skill set to keep peace. We're not going to let a repeat of 2020 happen. And if you remember, it all happened in Tim Walz's state in Minneapolis, which neighboring state, and a governor at the time. And Governor Tim Walz made very bad decisions and then tried to get the as governors to send our National Guard in to bail him out when he let his city burn for days on end.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing to me. We're all watching what's happening live, right, on television and online. And all we get from them is, oh, nothing to see here, nothing violent. We're watching the violence. We're watching the fires, the looting, the attacks on federal officers. We can all see this. Look at this. Now, Tom Homan says California Governor Gavin Newsom and LA Mayor Karen Bass could both face federal charges over their response to the ICE raids in LA. Tom Homan has warned as violence tore apart sections of downtown LA, Compton, and the suburb of Paramount. The administration has accused the Golden State Dems of fueling tensions, which exploded in riots on Saturday. Someone is going to lose their life, Homan warned, speaking to NBC. And he is so right about that. Freedom of speech has limitations on it. And one of those limitations is you cannot incite violence. If you incite violence, which is what Newsom and Karen Bass and others are doing, you are breaking the law.
I'd love to get your response to Governor Newsom saying, essentially, that your actions here are provocative, and the quote that he used was sowing chaos.
So Governor Newsom's an embarrassment for the state. He's the one that's feeding this mantra. He supports sanctuary cities. He supports sanctuary laws. If he cared about public safety in the state of California, he would not have a sanctuary for criminals, where criminals get released to the streets of this state every day because of his policy.
Yeah. This whole idea of sanctuary cities is so absurd. How can you have a sanctuary city for federal criminals who have committed a particular federal crime? I mean, as an example, bank robbing and kidnapping are federal crimes. Kidnapping, if you cross the state lines, right? Those are federal crimes. What if a city or a state said, okay, this city is a sanctuary city for bank robbers and kidnappers? That's absurd, isn't it? It is. It sounds stupid because it is stupid. The illegals are here illegally. They are wanted federal fugitives. You can't just say, well, we're a sanctuary city and this federal crime is not a crime here. First off, they're not federal and they can't make such a claim. But the whole idea of sanctuary cities for any federal crime is insane. Now, here's the article about President Trump's discussion of Garcia being brought back to the United States for trial. President Donald Trump told NBC News that it was the decision of the Department of Justice to return Garcia, that's the fake Maryland man. Look at what they write here, who has been wrongfully deported to El Salvador. He was not wrongfully deported. He was ordered by 2 federal immigration judges to be deported. He was not wrongfully deported. During a Saturday phone interview with NBC News' Kristen Welker, Trump was asked what went into his decision to bring Garcia back. And President Trump responded with this: well, that wasn't my decision. The Department of Justice decided to do it that way, and that's fine as far as there are 2 ways you could have done it, and they decided to do it that way, Trump told Welker. I think for speed, and it should be a very easy case, Trump continued. Welker then further pressed Trump, asking, you think he's going to be convicted? You think it's going to be an easy case? He has been extradited. He's going to be tried in Tennessee. This was a Tennessee warrant, okay? He's not going to be in some liberal federal court in Northern Virginia or D.C. This was a warrant from the U.S. prosecutor in Tennessee. I don't think it'll be a problem to get a just verdict in Tennessee. Trump said, I think it should be. You have 2 different cases. This would go faster, Trump replied. Welker then asked Trump what he thought of Democrats who advocated for Garcia's return, including Chris Van Hollen, who made a public case for Garcia being denied due process. Trump said, he's a loser, Van Hollen. The guy's a loser. They're going to lose because of that same thing. That's not what people want to hear, Trump responded. He's trying to defend a man who's got a horrible record of abuse of women in particular, No, he's a total loser, this guy, Trump concluded. So, you got to wonder what brought this on, the return of Garcia. Was it a smart decision? And, I've seen a lot of feedback. People are really ticked off at Pam Bondi. Now, my thought when I first was talking about this, and I don't, just because it wasn't Trump's idea doesn't mean he didn't approve of it. Because you notice he didn't say that he doesn't approve of it. He says it wasn't his decision. It's the Justice Department's decision. But he didn't say he didn't approve of it. And what I've thought that the president wants to do is get a conviction. They get a conviction, and they want to establish that these illegals that they're deporting are really bad people that are doing terrible things. Remember Garcia, they got him on human trafficking, which is modern-day slave trafficking, and some other crimes as well. And one of the things they're doing with this is they're taking a midterm election issue away from the few Democrats that are left. They're not going to be able to say that he's not getting due process, Garcia, because he's back in the United States and he's going to be either on trial or convicted by that point. So that Garcia didn't get due process and he's in El Salvador, they're going to have a hard time convincing anybody, even liberal lunatics, that he didn't get due process when they brought him back to the United States. I'm not saying that I think it was a good idea. I don't know why they just didn't leave him there, but there was a reason to bring him back, and there's so many things to be upset about. If they brought him back and set him free, then I'd be fuming. But this guy's going to get convicted. He's never going to be a free man again, and he's going to get a long prison sentence too. Now, here's another clip. This is CNN interviewing a Democrat congresswoman about Trump sending in the National Guard into Los Angeles to get control of the situation.
So you said that you have spoken to the law enforcement officials that you work with in your district. Yes. On the ground. The LA County Sheriff's Department did describe the protest in Paramount last night as the situation escalated. The crowd of protesters became increasingly agitated, throwing objects and exhibiting violent behavior toward federal agents.
That's right.
And deputy sheriffs. What is your message to people who are getting violent?
It's don't get violent. Those are not the people that are coming out to protest immigration. What we've seen, so let me tell you.
What are violent people doing?
Okay, so last night when I talked to the sheriff, he had told me the situation in Paramount was under control, that the people that were peacefully protest have left.
The Democrat sheriff elected in Democrat LA County.
The situation was now across the street into the Compton area, and this was the unruly folks, that Saturday night crowd. The people that were there to actually protest immigration were gone. We agree that if you're being violent, you should be arrested. You should be prosecuted. There is no disagreement on that. I think that's an effort that we can all say. But this is not what's happening. We are having an administration that's targeting peaceful protests, people that are there to protest. The president is sending the National Guard because he doesn't like the scenes. He doesn't like the scenes of people peacefully protesting. And we know that California law enforcement, local law enforcement, they're there to protect the public. They're there to protect and have public safety. And that's what they're there to do. Now, when people turn on law enforcement is when you get that response. So we want to make sure that people continue to speak up, that people show up, but that people are peaceful about the situation. And that's what we're continuing to tell people.
Yeah. Well, she's out of her mind, okay, like a typical liberal. First off, especially in a liberal area like L.A., the cops are Democrats, too, for the most part. This is Los Angeles, okay? The sheriff of L.A. County is elected in L.A. County, and that means he's a Democrat, too. So, no, you can't leave this up to local Democrats. The situation that we're in this country, in particular in Los Angeles, is because of Democrats who are elected officials like the LA County Sheriff. And it just blows my mind. Even here on CNN, this liberal congresswoman is saying, "Oh no, these aren't the immigration protesters. These aren't rioters. These are just the Saturday night crowd, and there's no violence." CNN is showing daytime fires of cars that have been firebombed in the streets right in front of the ICE headquarters, and they're trying to tell us nothing to see here. there was that convoy with the ICE vehicles. I'm sure you've seen it going through the streets of LA. They had the ICE agents in military gear holding on to the outside of the truck, and it was under attack and being followed by, it looked like hundreds of people in the streets trying to intimidate them as they were throwing things at them. Bringing in the National Guard, and anyone who thinks that this is an overreaction, you need to come in and quell this before it gets bigger. If they're allowed to get away with what they're doing, which is not a peaceful protest, they're stopping traffic and other things. Tomorrow it'll be rush hour. You think they're going to go to work on Monday and Tuesday, and in the afternoon rush, in the morning rush? No, they're going to block traffic, and they're committing acts of violence. If you don't clamp down on it now, it's going to get worse, although it's pretty bad now. And news scum, President Trump may have to federalize the entire state. News scum, listen to this. Democrat California Governor Gavin Newsom's office downplayed the riots, likening them to sports celebrations that notoriously break out in Philadelphia after an Eagles victory. Well, that's wrong, too. L.A. riots, Gavin Newsom, his communication director, says. Have these geniuses ever seen what happens when the Eagles win a playoff game, says Izzy Garden, Newsom's communication director, telling Fox News on Sunday this. Really? Come on. I know people get out of hand during some of these sports things. I've never quite understood that. I don't know why that happens. It happens. But this is not that. These are people that are trying to bring down the collapse of the system out there. And this goes back to what I was talking about in the first segment about Karen Bass being a communist revolutionary. And by the way, she's been one for her entire life. So what they want to do is overwhelm the system, Cloud and Piven strategy, and force a collapse out there so they can get a negotiation and get their way on everything. You can't do that. There's no negotiations to be made. Okay, these are violent protesters. Many of them are in this country illegally, and they have no business being here and throwing rocks at federal agents. ICE agents are federal agents. It's like throwing rocks at the FBI. It's like throwing. It's a federal crime to do what they're doing, and there's many counts of it. And they're not only are there going to be massive immigration raids throughout Los Angeles, a lot of people are going to self-deport because they see what's going on and they're nervous. They don't want to go to work and get busted. The immigration raids that started this were in the garment district, so they went into some of these sweatshops. But some of the people that they picked up, these were not just moms and grandmas, okay, is what they're trying to tell you. There were pedos were some of these illegals. They're trying to tell you that, these are just workers, not criminals. Some of these were pedos and other sex criminals, okay, that they picked up that were working in the garment district in L.A. We'll take a quick break and be right back. I was telling Steve Kane this morning that come August, it'll be 3 years since Dr. Philip Appleton rid me of pain for the first time. It was in my knee. And my knee had been hurting me since I was 21 years old. So it had been 30 years of suffering. And sometimes my knee would act up. It was my right knee. It would act up so much, I just wanted to sit down and go to sleep, because the pain was so bad. And Dr. Appleton treated me. And I know it was 3 years ago because I remember a salesman from the radio station took me to meet Dr. Appleton. And I told Dr. Appleton about my knee. I got that free consultation that you can take advantage of too, the free consultation with Dr. Appleton. And he treated me with a laser treatment on my knee, which is 100% painless. There's no shots, no injections, no downtime. In fact, not only is it completely painless, you don't even feel it when it's happening. So that was on Thursday. The next day I woke up on Friday and my knee was already improving. I went for a second treatment on Saturday. First treatment Thursday, second treatment on Saturday, and then Monday, the pain was gone. And 3 years coming in August, the pain has not returned because the laser treatment doesn't just rid you of pain, it repairs the damage that's causing the pain. It's amazing. It works. And he's rid me of pain 6 times after that for a total of 7, Dr. Appleton. We have listeners that travel literally from all over the United States to see Dr. Appleton. He is incredible. The laser treatment works on every type of pain I've ever heard of. Arthritis, which, by the way, he rid me of arthritis in my hand, bursitis, work and sports injuries, strains and sprains, repetitive motion injuries, post-surgical swelling, neck and back injuries, knee conditions, tinnitus, sciatica, spinal stenosis, fibromyalgia, plantar fasciitis, which I understand is incredibly painful, rotary tears, herniated disc, acute pain, chronic pain, and any type of pain you've ever heard of. Because I keep meeting listeners all the time with new pains I never heard of, and they're now living pain-free thanks to Dr. Appleton. Give him a call. Now, remember, appointments are not necessary. Walk-ins are welcome, even on Saturdays. Give him a call and say bye-bye to your pain. 954-973-0710. 954-973-0710. And online, AppletonCairo.com. I'm sitting here in the studio with one of my pillows. Well, actually, this my pillow is my wife's my pillow. Okay, this is the one my wife slept on last night, and we were taking the sheets and everything off the bed to do laundry, and we washed the MyPillows because, you know, the MyPillows are completely washable and dryable. And this one actually is my wife's favorite of the MyPillows. This is the premium MyPillow, which is covered with Giza cotton, that 100% Giza cotton, which is it's an upscale MyPillow, and it has the piping around the side. And the width of the piping actually tells you how much fill there is inside. And this one is firm. And the patented fill that Mike Lindell invented is absolutely amazing. And what that patented fill does is it stops your head and neck from turning at night. Once you're in position and you go to sleep, you stay in that position. You know, with other pillows, you toss and turn at night. Every time you do that, even when you don't remember it, you wake up out of REM sleep. And with the MyPillow's patented fill, your head and neck fit in that pillow perfectly, and you're not tossing and turning. That's why I get 4 or 5 hours sleep a night, usually 4, but if I'm lucky, 5, and I'm so well rested and ready to go every morning for a very long day because those 4 or 5 hours of sleep I get are well-rested sleep. And if you get the sleep you should get, the 7 or 8 hours, oh man, you're going to be lighting the world up on fire. And if you think you've gotten a good night's sleep, you've not had a true good night's sleep until you've slept with a MyPillow. Now, the MyPillow, the premium pillow with the Giza cotton that I'm holding in my arms right now, the queen size is just $19.98 with our promo code Kane at checkout, and the regular price on that is $69.98. So it's a huge discount. You can also get it in the king size, which is $24.98. That's usually $79.98. So great deals with our promo code Kane at checkout, Kane. Don't forget to use our promo code Kane at checkout, Kane. And, of course, you can use our promo code Kane, Kane, at checkout on all the specials at MyPillow.com. But I love these MyPillows. I have all the MyPillow products you hear me talk about. The premium MyPillow that's made with the Giza cotton on the outside, this will change your life. Order yours today. Promo code Kane, Kane, at MyPillow.com. Now, if you're in the state of Florida and you need roof repair or replacement, you want to call Tom Laporta at Laporta Roofing. He's a good MAGA guy. He'll take good care of you. He'll never sell you a roof you do not need, meaning that if you need just a simple repair, he'll do it. He covers the entire state of Florida, the East Coast, the West Coast, and everywhere in between. And did you know that Tom Laporta was voted one of the best general contractors and best roofers in all of South Florida? That is absolutely amazing. He's honest, he's knowledgeable, he's reliable, and he does incredible work. I've seen his work, not just on Steve Kane's house, but many of our listeners have told me about the great work that Tom Laporta has done for every type of structure. We actually had a listener that had a church roof. They call Tom Laporta about. Now remember, because Tom Laporta isn't just a roofer, he's also a general contractor. Florida law allows him to deal directly with your insurance company for the cost of the repair or the replacement of your roof. He can handle a job of any size, and he can also handle any type of roofing job. Residential roofing and repair, commercial roofs, schools, municipal buildings, office buildings, emergency repairs. After rainstorms and hurricanes, we have a lot of listeners. They call Tom Laporta. He comes right out. He takes care of it. Give him a call. Now, this number rings directly to Tom Laporta's cell phone, okay? 954-604-4602. 954-604-4602. You can either call or text him. That's his direct cell phone number, or go to his website, laportaroofing.com. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig, and this is the Brian Craig Show podcast. All right, let's get back to it. Of course, the Democrats. Here's Maxine Waters. Never met a riot she didn't like and support, and here she is.
And he's using deportation as a way to enhance his position with all of those right-wingers out there who do not want this country to be a country of people coming from other places. It's outrageous, it is horrible, and we've got to make sure that we do everything that we possibly can, because I think he's up to creating martial law. He even alluded to
we got the National Guard here.
What do you think
National Guard for what?
What do you think about the National Guard being here, Trump deploying them and not our own governor?
Well, the thing about it is, I don't know why they're here with guns. Whom are they going to shoot, and for what? Are you going to shoot a kid running away just because they're afraid of them? Are you going to shoot a protester because you don't like what they're saying? Why the guns? Why are these guns here? That's my question. I don't get why the guns have to be here. We're a sanctuary city. We know Trump doesn't like us. We know that he's going to try to use us as an example. He's going to try to goad us so that he has a martial law. He even alluded to civil war at one point.
Okay, the guns, what they're doing is stopping violence. Because you have soldiers there with guns, these Democrat agitators and insurrectionists are now being peaceful. The guns prevent it. And there have been situations where National Guards look at Kent State as an example. And, the big secret of Kent State that they don't teach you about in school because they don't want you to know the truth is those protesters attacked the National Guardsmen. I know it's a sad thing that happened there. I'm not approving of what happened, but they were attacked by the leftist protesters. These protesters, these insurrectionists, these violent rioters and looters, they're being very peaceful. Why? Because the soldiers have guns. That's why they're there, Maxine Waters. I tell you, these people are out of their minds. This is just bizarre to me. This is local news out of L.A., right there on the street where the burning of cars and looting's going on.
Demonstrations have been going on right outside the Federal Detention Center. Most of those demonstrators were very peaceful.
Most of them are peaceful. Oh, okay. Well, I guess it makes it okay then.
The Federal Detention Center, most of those demonstrators were very peaceful. They were chanting, they were shouting. People were driving by honking their horns. And again, they were expressing their anger about the detention of so many immigrants at the Federal Center. Most of the evening, the federal agents stayed inside the building, but at a certain point, some of the demonstrators got...
See, because they're honking their horns during her broadcast and she can't be heard, she's finally starting to get angry. All this looting of the businesses, she doesn't care about the people who have lost their entire inventory and their business that supports their family has been destroyed, the family whose cars get firebombed and they don't have a car to drive to work on Monday. That doesn't bother her. But if you're honking your horns and I can't be heard during my television broadcast here on the street, now I'm upset. Now can Trump send the National Guard over here and shut these people up? You can tell she's getting aggravated with them.
Most of the evening, the federal agents stayed inside the building, but at a certain point, some of the demonstrators got very close to the property. In fact, some of them went onto the property, started tagging the building, started banging on fences, and shortly after all that happened, the agents started firing off tear gas, and then they came out.
Yeah, okay, it's the authorities' fault, but you see the tension in her? How dare you interrupt my broadcast? This is Congresswoman Torres. She's Democrat, of course, from Los Angeles, and this is what I'm talking about, okay? There's freedom of speech, but you do not have the freedom to incite violence.
I get the fuck out of LA so that order can be restored.
order can be restored so that the illegal occupiers from Latin America who are in the country illegally, orders restored when we surrender Los Angeles to foreigners. That's what she's asking us to do. Now, this was Mayor Bass over the weekend.
We are going to fight for all Angelenos, regardless of when they got here, whether they have papers or not. We are a city of immigrants, and this impacts hundreds of thousands of Angelenos. Okay, so this narrative that they try to get going that Trump is anti-immigrant. Melania is a naturalized U.S. citizen, a legal immigrant. President Trump's first wife, a legal immigrant. We're not against immigrants, we're against illegals. And, of course, illegals that are coming here not to become Americans, but to change our country. Here's another one. This is a councilwoman from Los Angeles. She sits on the city council.
They know how quickly we mobilize. That's why they're changing tactics. Because community defense works and our resistance has slowed them down before. And if they're escalating their tactics, then so are we. When they show up, we gotta show up even stronger.
Wow, she should be arrested for that. That's something. And this is only just beginning. This is going to be something that goes on week after week. Now, it might slow down because the National Guard's there, but they'll be back. And the deportations are going to be amped up in L.A. So what's happening out there, this is only the beginning. But you know what? You can tell by the local newscasters and some of the people, this is what the people of Southern California voted for. This is what they got. But they're not their own country, okay? California is part of the United States, and they have to abide by our laws. And they're not going to allow an invasion to take place. They're not going to be able to get away with attacking federal agents or disrupting government business. This is an insurrection going on in Southern California. Make no mistake about it. Now, this story here is absolutely amazing. Terry Moron over at ABC News has been suspended over a tweet. I don't know if I can think of another instance of a high-profile liberal getting in trouble for a tweet about a conservative. Listen to this. ABC News senior national correspondent Terry Moron has been suspended after going on a late-night screed against top White House advisor Stephen Miller, along with President Trump on social media. Moron, who landed an interview with the president in April, blasted Stephen Miller, the White House deputy chief of staff for policy, as a man, quote, richly endowed with the capacity for hatred, unquote. The thing about Stephen Miller is not that he is the brains behind Trumpism. This is Terry Moran from ABC that was just suspended. Yes, he is one of the people who conceptualizes the impulses of the Trumpist movement. This is a reporter, seems pretty opinionated, and translates them into policy. But that's not what's interesting about Miller, Moron argued on X early Sunday. It's not brains, it's bile. Miller is a man who is richly endowed with the capacity for hatred. He's a world-class hater, the ABC News reporter added. You can see this just by looking at him, because you can see that his hatreds are his spiritual nourishment. He eats the hate. Trump is a world-class hater, but his hatred only a means to an end, and that end is his own glorification. That's the spiritual nourishment. What a weirdo. ABC News announced Sunday they were suspending him over concerns about him violating the outlet's standard on impartiality and objectivity. See, you can be biased and everything if you're a liberal in the media, but you can't be so open about it. Now, this is more than that, and this has to do with the tone of the country. This is a MAGA country now, right? President Trump won the popular vote. He won all the battleground states. He flipped a lot of blue counties red. And the majority of the American people are where Trump is. And traditional media, which ABC News is a part of, is struggling for its survival. And they can't alienate or lose access. They can't alienate the people or lose access. And ABC News is probably afraid what happened to the AP will happen to them. Remember, the courts just upheld this week that Trump could keep the AP out of the Oval Office. But this is the first time since that guy on MSNBC made a comment about Sarah Palin 10 or 15 years ago that I've seen a liberal network news person get into trouble for something they said about a Republican. And what he said was really vile, and it was I can't remember it was the guy, it was an English news guy that they had on MSNBC with his own show, and he did a big interview with Michael Jackson was his claim. Martin Bashir was his name. Martin Bashir talked about something called the Darby treatment, which I'm not going to describe. Should be done to Sarah Palin. You can look up the Darby treatment. It's disgusting. And that got him fired from MSNBC. But that was like 10, 15 years ago, maybe even longer, at least 15. And this happened. We're in a new country. It's Trump's America. Now, don't forget, guys, this is where MAGA comes to talk. Whatever platform you're listening to me on, make sure that you subscribe. And remember, if you become a Patreon supporter, you get access to commercial-free editions of all of my podcasts on the Patreon page. And by the way, you get access to a video version of the podcast without commercials, completely commercial-free, to Patreon supporters only. So if you'd like to become a Patreon supporter and support my content, and at the same time have access to commercial-free editions of all of my podcast episodes in video form, become a Patreon supporter. There's a link to my Patreon page in the description of the video. Or if you're listening to, on YouTube, there's a description, and there's a link in the description of the video if you're watching on YouTube. And if you're listening on one of the podcast platforms, there's a link to my Patreon page in the description of the podcast on whatever platform you are listening to me on. I'm Brian Craig. This is where MAGA comes to talk. I'll talk to you next time.